Antadeep Mayapurusha, Matadeep Gautumadeep, Matadeep Kaladeep, Uttadeep Tanadeep, Motidumadeep, Guru Pamakashi, Navadeep Tam Ki Jai. Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gogopadan Vadasavanabha Kashi Raj Mahara Ki Jai. Shishamakund Radhakund Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Yogamaya Purnamasi Ki Jai. Ishwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudasan Shakaju Ki Jai. Shri Purushottam Chatra Ki Jai. Nishringa Bhagavan Ki Jai. Bhakti Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Gandhara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Navadip Parikram Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
I overheard from my room, Jaigo was making some announcement about they want to do some reading of Navadip Parikrama in the morning as well?
He was saying that your reading is in the evening.
Oh.
And we're going to continue Chaitanya Charitamrita, but we're going to start the bhajans at 7 in the morning and then do 5:30 to 6:30 in the evening.
Okay.
At least 6.
He was just talking about kirtan then.
He was just saying we'll continue with Chaitanya Charitamrita and that you were doing the Parikram reading.
Acha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Always put the mic below because then we know where it is and it's protected. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Kuroti Vachalam Bangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tishe Namaha. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gaudaudaye Pushpavanto Chitro Shamdo Tamonudo Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vrindai Tulsi Debai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable, beloved Diksha and Siksha Gurudevs, Nityalila Pravishtom Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtatarasata Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. My Dandavat pranams to Saptam Gosai, Sri Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur, the author of Sri Navadvip Dham Parikrama. My Dandavat pranams to all of my Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga, and my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Today is the second day of reading from Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. The first day, actually, the day before, 3 days ago, we were reading from the introduction. So, yesterday we left off just 2 verses away from the end of chapter 1. So I'm again reading these last few verses. Chapter 1, the title of chapter 1 is the glories of Sri Navadvip Dham. And truly, what we heard yesterday is completely incredible. There is nothing, practically speaking, more incredible in the whole universe than what we heard yesterday. How even if someone is full of offenses, in Navadvip Dham, they are not counted. So, audarya. You know this word, audarya? Everyone say, audarya. Audarya. This means magnanimity. So, Navadvip Dham is called the Audarya Dham. It is full of magnanimity. Vrindavan, Braj Mandala, it is called the Madhurya Dham. It is full of sweetness. But is that sweetness also there in Navadvip Dham? Yes. Extreme. But the added feature, that is not there in Braj, is Audarya Dham, magnanimity. So we're going to hear a lot about that in these days leading up to Sri Gaura Purnima. So Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is telling Shatavarsha Sapta Tirthe Mile Jaha Bhai Navadvipe Ek Ratra Vase Tahapai. Ek Ratra means 1 night. And Shatavarsha means 100 years. So he's saying, oh brother, the result one attains from residing for 100 years in the 7 holy places, Ayodhya, Mathura, Mayapuri, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika, and Dwaravati. The results obtained from 100 years can be obtained by residing only 1 night in Sri Navadvip. And then he says, Heno Navadvipa Dham Sarva Dham Sar. This Navadvip Dham is Sarva Dham Sar, the essence of all holy places. Kalite Ashrai Kori Jiva Hoy Par. In the Kali Yuga, the living entity can easily cross the ocean of material existence by taking shelter of this holy abode. Jiva Hoy Par. Cross. Taraka Paraka Vidya Dvai Avirata. Navadvipa Vasi Gane Seve Riti Mata. The two fields of knowledge, they're known as Taraka and Paraka. So Taraka means knowledge about crossing over the ocean of material existence. And Paraka means knowledge about attaining all kinds of desires. So these two fields of knowledge, they are always serving the inhabitants of Sri Navadvip in a beautiful way. Finally, he says, at the end of every chapter, he says his obeisances to Nitai Janava. Nitai Janava Pada Chaya Jar Ash Se Bhakti Vinod Gai Paya Ullas. Bhakti Vinod, whose desire is to obtain the cooling shade of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi, the cooling shade of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi, he is full of joy, singing the glories of Sri Navadvip Dham. Thus ends chapter 1. Chapter 2. Jaya Jaya Navadvipa Chandra Sachi Sutta Jaya Jaya Nityananda Rai Avaduta Jaya Jaya Navadvip Sarvadham Sar Se Damer Tattva Varane Sadhya Achekar. All glories to Sri Sachinandana, the moon of Sri Navadvip. All glories to Nityananda Prabhu, the Avadut. All glories to Sri Navadvip, the essence of all holy abodes. Who would possibly be able to describe the real nature of this Dham? Navadvipa Dham Gaur Mandala Bitore, Janavi Sevita Hoy Sada Shobha Kore. Sri Navadvip Dham is situated within Gaura Mandala and is served by Sri Janavi Devi, the Ganga, who further enhances its beauty. Now, the circumference of Sri Gaura Mandala and Sri Navadvip Dham. Sri Gaura Mandala Ekavimshati Yojana. The circumference of Sri Gaura Mandala is 21 yojanas, and that's equivalent to 168 miles. Madhya Bhage Ganga Devi Rahe Anukshan. Sri Ganga Devi is in its center, always flowing throughout. Shatadala Padmamoy Mandala Akar. Sri Gaura Mandala is like a lotus flower with 100 petals. Madhya Bhage Navadvipa Ati Shobhatar, with the supremely beautiful Sri Navadvip situated at its center. So you have the bigger Gaura Mandala, then you have the smaller Navadvip, which also has the shape of a lotus. Pancha Krosha Hoy Tar Keshara Adhar Parimala Purna Pushpa Yojana Chatvar. This most fragrant flower, Sri Navadvip, has 8 petals, and it measures 4 yojanas, 32 miles, or 16 krosas. In the middle of this flower is a stamen-like base, which is Antaradvip. The circumference of Antaradvip is 10 miles, 5 koshas. Bahir Papadi Tar Shatadalahoy Ekadika Yojana Vimshati Vistarai. The outer portion of this lotus flower is the entire Gaura Mandala with its 100 petals. It has a circumference of 21 yojanas, 168 miles. Mandala Paridhi Hoy Se Pariman Yojana Saptaka Vyasa Shastra Vedan Vyasardha Praman Sardha Tritiya Yojana Madhya Bindu Hoiti Tar Haibe Ganana Madhya Bindu Navadvipa Dham Madhya Stala Yoga Pit Hoi Taha Chinmoy Vimala. According to scripture, The diameter of Sri Gauda Mandala is 7 yojanas, 56 miles. Half of this diameter is 3.5 yojanas, 28 miles, or 14 kosas. Right in the center of this flower is Sri Navadvip Dham, where Mahaprabhu's transcendental and pure birthplace, Jogpit, is splendidly situated. Now comes the true nature of Sri Navadvip Dham. Chintamani Rupa Hoy E Gauda Mandala Chidanandamoy Dham Chinmoy Sakala. This holy abode of Gauda Mandala is like a Chintamani, or a desire-fulfilling gem. It is constituted of knowledge and bliss, Chidanandamoy, and all that is within it is transcendental. Jalabhumi Vriksha Adi Sakali Chinmoy Sada Vidyamana Tata Krishna Shakti Trai. Everything in Gauda Mandala, including the water, land, and trees, is transcendental. The 3 spiritual potencies of Sri Krishna, Sandini, Samvit, and Ladini, are always present here. Swarup Shaktir Jay Sandini Prabhav Tar Parinati E Dhamera Svabhav. The constitutional nature of the transcendental Dham is a transformation of the Sandini potency. Sandini is a division of Swarup Shakti, the Lord's internal energy. Prabhu Lila Pit Rupe Dham Nitya Hoy Achintya Shaktir Karya Prapanchika Noi. This Dham is eternal because it is the place of Sriman Mahaprabhu's pastimes. None of the functions of the Supreme Lord's inconceivable potency, Achintya Shakti, none of those functions are material. Nevertheless, conditioned souls, misled by ignorance, they perceive the Dham from an external perspective as merely the material world. One whose vision is covered by a cloud, he may think that the cloud is covering the sun. But the sun cannot be covered by a cloud. Can the sun be covered by a cloud? No. But on days from our perspective, when we're not seeing the sun, it looks like it's completely covered, right? But no, not really. Similarly, although this Gauda Mandala is transcendental, one with material intelligence sees the Dham as material. And this is something we absolutely have to very deeply try to understand this point with deep faith and Shraddha. Because it is only through Shraddha that the Dham can be perceived, through Shraddha. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj has a very beautiful long chapter in one of his books called Shraddha, or Faith, the eyes to see the Dham. That is how it is possible, no other way. Now, whoever gets the mercy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, if you get his mercy, then you will perceive the spiritual nature of the blissful Dham. Ganga Yamunadi Tata Sadhya Vidyaman. To such a person, it is revealed that Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Godavari, and other holy rivers perpetually flow together here, and that Prayag and the other 7 holy cities are present at various important places. So all those 7 cities that we have read that list, they're present in Navadvip Dham. Not only that, we'll get to that, but Gurudev used to very much stress this point. All of Braj Mandala is present in Navadvip. So the question is asked here, why cannot everyone behold the transcendental Dham? Because the fortunate living entity beholds this Gauda Mandala as the pure and the manifest realm of Vaikuntha. But why cannot everyone behold the transcendental Dham? Why? What's the problem? Here it is. The shadow of the Swarup Shakti is called Maya Shakti. That's the shadow of the Swarup Shakti. Maya Shakti is the illusory energy. And on the order of the Lord, she spreads her power of illusion. This illusory energy, it covers the eyes of the living entities who have turned away from the Lord. Bahir mukha jiv chakshu kore avarana. That's our problem. That's everyone's problem in the material world. Bahir mukha jiv. We have turned away from the Lord. And that's why the illusory energy has covered us, and we can only perceive the Maya potency. So, for this reason, not everyone can perceive the influence of this transcendental abode. Those who eternally reside in Gauda Mandala, they are the most fortunate in this material world. When the demigods in Svarga see people living in Gauda Mandala, they perceive them all as having 4 arms, darkish complexion, and an astonishingly beautiful body with good stature and strength. So that's how the demigods perceive everyone living in Gauda Mandala. 4 arms. They perceive them having completely liberated eternal transcendental forms. All the inhabitants of this 32-mile, 16 koshas area of Sri Navadvip Dham, all of them have a golden Gaura complexion. All the inhabitants of Sri Navadvip Dham have a Gaura complexion, and they are always absorbed in Nam Sankirtan. Brahma Adi Deva Gane Antariksha Vaite Navadvipa Vasi Gane Puje Nana Mate. Even Brahma and other demigods from the celestial realm, they worship the inhabitants of Navadvip in various ways. Lord Brahma, he says, he prays. When will I be fortunate enough to take birth even as a blade of grass in Navadvip? If someone asks why I should desire such a birth, even though I am Brahma, then I will answer, oh brother, in this way I will obtain the foot dust of all the devotees engaged in the service of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's divine feet. This would be impossible otherwise. Alas, alas, Sri Gaur Chandra tricked me. He made me the master of the universe. Oh, when will the binding knots of my fruitive activities be cut open? When will my mind become pure as I give up false pride, abhiman? When will my self-conception that I am the creator of this universe, when will that vanish? When will I become a pure servant of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu and attain the shelter of his lotus feet? The demigods and sages and the Rudras, oh, they reside in different places in Sri Navadvip. Chirakal tapakari jivana katai tabu nityananda kripa se sabe napai. Even though they all have long since spent their lives engaged in austerities, they still could not receive the mercy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. You can move the chairs a little so that he's not in front of the doorway. Yeah. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Jiv Ki Jai. Now, it is impossible to get Sri Gaur Nityananda's mercy as long as the false ego remains. We just heard that you can get his mercy so easily. But now, this is the next point that's being explained. Unless the demigods, such as Brahma and Shiva, abandon the mindset that I am a demigod, and humility awakens in their heart, they are unable to receive the treasure of Sri Gaur Nityananda's mercy despite great endeavor. So what to speak of others? No. The author's entreaty that the reader faithfully hear narrations of these pastimes. All of these topics will be narrated further on in this book. Oh, brothers, listen to them carefully and faithfully. Oh, brothers, avoid using mundane logic in regard to these topics, because logic is useless and inauspicious. Sri Chaitanya Lilohoy, Gabira Sagara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are like a deep ocean. But on the contrary, mundane logic, it is as troublesome as the many layers of skin that cover banana flowers. The efforts of one using mundane logic to attain deliverance from the material world, they are unsuccessful. Not by logic, never. Nothing is gained in such endeavor. But one who abandons mundane logic and takes shelter of only sadhus and shastras quickly attains the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Following the order of Nityananda Prabhu, the Shrutis, Smritis, Tantras, and all other scriptures, they always praise the majesty of Sri Navadvip. Study all these scriptures and have faith in the words of the sadhus, then you will understand the glories of Sri Navadvip. All sacred places are extremely weak in Kali Yuga. All these different tirthas and sacred places. Sri Navadvip Dham alone is supremely powerful. By the desire of the Lord, this holy abode and its glories remained unmanifest for an extremely long time. And when the influence of Kali Yuga greatly increased, and all the holy places consequently lost their power, the Supreme Lord, out of his concern for the well-being of the living beings, he searched for a remedy to help them. The Supreme Lord thought, an expert doctor gives medicine to his patient after understanding his patient's suffering. If the patient is very sick, the doctor gives him especially potent medicine. Similarly, in the fearsome Kali Yuga, the people have developed a severe disease that cannot be cured without an extremely potent medicine. How will these living beings attain deliverance if I will not, even now, manifest the name and the divine form of my holy abode, which I so far have kept concealed? All living entities are my servants, and I am their master. If I do not liberate them, then who will? Without my mercy, they can never be delivered. Thinking in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Sri Dham Navadvip along with his holy name, his abode, and his servants. The Supreme Lord always promises that he will liberate all jivas and dispel all of their tribulations. I will bestow upon every person in this material world a treasure, prem, that is rare for even Brahma to attain. In this incarnation, I will not consider who is a fit or an unfit recipient of this treasure. Dekibo ki rupe kali jivera kore nash, Navadvipadam ami koribo prakash. I will see how Kali destroys the living beings when I manifest my Navadvipdam. In that sacred abode, I will break the poisonous teeth of Kali. Performing kirtan, I will make the living entities my own. Atmasat. Now here's Srimad Mahaprabhu's prophecy. Jatadur mama nam hoibe kirtan, tatadur hoibe to kalir daman. According to the magnitude of the chanting of my names, the influence of Kali Yuga will be subdued. In other words, Kali Yuga will flee far away from the places where the holy name is chanted. Thinking thus, Sri Gaur Hari manifested Navadvip Dham at the beginning of the Kali Yuga by his internal potency, Yogamaya. Sri Gaur Chandra manifested his eternal pastimes in Gauda Bhumi after removing his illusory energy, Mahamaya, who is the shadow of his Swarup Shakti, Yogamaya. Emona Dayalu Prabhu Jai Jan Nabaje, Emona Achinta Dam Jai Jana Tyaje. E Kali Kali Tar Sama Bhagyahin, Nadeki Jagate Ar Sochaniyadin. In Kali Yuga, there is no one more unfortunate and wretched than that person who does not worship such a supremely merciful Lord and who rejects such an inconceivable holy abode. Therefore, O brothers, give up all other desires and fix your mind only on Sri Navadvip Dham. That is, or to say, in other words, please reside in Sri Navadvip Dham. Navadvip Dhame matra hao ekamati. Fix your mind on Navadvip Dham. Please reside in Sri Navadvip Dham. Janavi nitai padachaya jar ash. Se bhakti vinoda kore e tattva prakash. Desiring to attain the cooling shade of Nityananda Prabhu's and Sri Janava Devi's lotus feet, Bhaktivinoda is revealing this truth. Thus ends chapter 2. Chapter 3. Jaya Jaya Navadvipa Chandra Sachi Sutta. Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Avaduta. Jai Jai Shri Advaita Prabhu Mahashai. Gadadhar Shrivas Pandit Jai Jai. Jai Jai Navadvipa Dham Sarva Dham Sar. Jai Dham Saha Gaura Chandra Avatar. All glories to the holiest of all holy abodes, Sri Navadvip Dham. Sri Gaur Chandra descended together with this Dham. Shola Krosha Navadvip Madhya Jaha Jata. Varniba Ekon Bhakta Gana Shunataha. O devotees, I will now describe the different places within the 16 koshas Navadvip. All of you should listen. First is the rivers flowing through Navadvip. 16 rivers are situated eternally in the 16 koshas Sri Navadvip Dham. 4 dvipas or islands exist eternally on Ganga's eastern bank, and on her western bank are 5 islands. Svaraduni, that means Bhagavati Bhagirata Ganga, is also called Svaraduni. She flows encircling all these islands and thus eternally increasing the splendor of Sri Navadvip Dham. The original Ganga Devi always flows through the center of Navadvip Dham, and many other rivers who purify the world flow here and there throughout Sri Navadvip Dham. Beautiful Sri Yamuna Maharani with Bhagavati Bhagarati Ganga next to the western bank, and the presiding goddess of learning, Saraswati, flows within another stream. In the eastern part of the Yamuna, the strong and swift rivers Tamraparni, Kritamala, and Brahmaputra flow. Sarayu, Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri, Gomati, and other holy rivers who purify this world, they flow with mighty speed together with Sri Godavari. As separate currents, these rivers divide Sri Navadvip into 9 parts. And according to the Lord's desire, these rivers sometimes dry out, and then again they become filled with water. According to the Lord's desire, a place will sometimes become immersed in water, and then again give darshan. Although the Dham continuously performs pastimes in this way, it is always manifest for the most fortunate person. The devotee who has a strong desire within the heart to behold these rivers, he will attain darshan of all the islands and rivers. This kind of devotee will sometimes attain, by the help of his devotion, a vision of the Dham in dreams, sometimes in meditation, and sometimes even directly with his eyes. Now we hear about Sri Antardvip. Sri Antardvip Mayapur ki jai. Ganga Jamunar Joge Jay Dviparai Antardvip Taranam Sarva Shastri Koi. All holy scriptures call the island formed at the confluence of the rivers Ganga and Yamuna, they call it Antardvip. Sriman Mahaprabhu took birth in Mayapur Yog Peeth in the center of Antardvip. Gokul Mahavan in Goloka corresponds with Mayapur in Sri Navadvip Dham. What is Gokul Mahavan? The birthplace of who? Krishna. Yes. And that directly corresponds with Mayapur in Sri Navadvip Dham. Shvetadvip, Vaikunta, Goloka, and Sri Vrindavan are always splendidly situated in Sri Navadvip Dham. According to Sriman Mahaprabhu's arrangement, the 7 holy cities, Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avanti, and Dwarka, they are eternally situated in their respective places in Sri Navadvip Dham. The city, Maya, Haridwar, at Ganga Dwar, it is situated in its actual form in Mayapur. The excellence of this place is described repeatedly throughout the scriptures. One who even once visits Mayapur, the residence of all sacred places, he easily crosses the material realm. One who wanders throughout Mayapur, he becomes freed from the control of the illusory energy and from taking birth in this material world again. Mayapure Brahmile Mayar Adhikar, Dure Jai Janma Kabu Nahe Arbar. One who wanders throughout Mayapur, he becomes freed from the control of the illusory energy and from taking birth in this material world again. Now, here are the rules for performing Sri Navadvip Dham Parikrama. Simantadvip is situated to the north of Sri Mayapur. With regard to the procedure of Parikrama of Navadvip, the saints and the holy scriptures consistently state, O learned devotees, please proceed to Sri Simantadvip after visiting Antardvip, Sri Mayapur. By the way, you know, this Navadvip Dham Mahatmya has sections. So this is the Parikrama Kanda section. There's also the Pramana Kanda section, which is not in that little book. The Pramana Kanda is quite long, and there Bhaktivinoda Thakur has included direct quotations. Dozens, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 different quotes from different shastras confirming all these statements about Mayapur. It's not that he's just telling by his imagination all these things. No.
What's the name of the book?
Pramana, well, it's Navadvip Mahatmya, but it's called Pramanakanda. Praman means evidence.
Evidence of this, what he's saying.
Yeah. So, now after visiting Simantadweep, so now we should imagine, as we're hearing this, like the 8 petals and the Antardweep in the middle. So directly north, like on 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, there is Simantadweep. Now we're going to go clockwise all the way around to cover all the 8 petals of those islands. After visiting Simantadweep, take darshan of the island named Shri Antardweep Mayapur, Simantadweep, Godrundweep, Madhyadweep, Koladweep, Ritudweep, Janudweep, Modadrumadweep, Rudradweep. Yes. So, after visiting Simantadweep, take darshan of the island named Godrum, situated south of Mayapur. Then, blissfully go to Madhyadweep. These 4 islands, Antardweep, Simantadweep, Godrundweep, and Madhyadweep, are situated on the river Jahnavi's eastern bank. And after taking darshan of them, reverentially cross the river Jahnavi Ganga by taking achaman and bathing in her waters, and then glorifying her with the prayer, only by your mercy is it possible to attain darshan of the Dham. Then take darshan of the other 5 islands, Koladweep, Ritudweep, Janudweep, Modadrumadweep, and Rudadweep. That's how parikrama is performed. Koladweep anayase korya brahman, Ritudweep shobha tabi kor darshan. Effortlessly walk around Koladweep, and there you will see Devananda Gaudiya Mat, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Mat, and all other beautiful places in Koladweep. Then behold the splendor of Ritudweep. O best of scholars, afterwards proceed to the supremely beautiful Janudweep, then continue to Modadrumadweep, and after visiting Modadrumadweep, take darshan of Rudradweep, then again cross the Ganga and walk to Mayapur. In Mayapur, now he's going to tell about what we're going to do in Mayapur. In Mayapur, respectfully enter Jagannath Mishra and Mother Sachi's temple, Yog Peeth, to take darshan of Mahaprabhu. Enter the Yog Peeth performing Nam Samkirtan and begging for the mercy of the nearby pastime places, and beg forgiveness for offenses committed consciously or unconsciously during the circumambulation of the Dham. This is always the procedure for performing the 16 kosas Navadvip Dham Parikrama. This parikrama is the abode for the jivas to attain unlimited happiness. Now, the best time for performing parikrama. According to the opinion of all devotees, the best time for performing parikrama is from Makara Saptami to Falgun Purnima. One who, after completing something with this, okay. I lost the place.
It's 38.
38.
I know. There's some funny thing with this.
It seems backwards.
Okay, best time. So, one who after completing the parikrama of Sri Navadvip Dham takes darshan of Mayapur on Sri Gaur Purnima, which day? Then he will attain qualification for bhakti through the mercy of the shade of Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's and Sri Nityananda's divine feet. In this chapter, I have in brief presented a description of the parikrama of Sri Navadvip Dham. Now, in the following chapters, I will describe it in detail. Please listen attentively. One who performs parikrama of the 168 miles of Sri Gauramandala quickly obtains the treasure of Gaur Prem. Janava Nitai Padachaya Jar Ash, E Bhakti Vinoda Kori, E Tattva Prakash. Bhakti Vinod, whose only desire is to attain the cooling shade of the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Janava Devi, reveals this truth. Thus ends chapter 3. Jai Jai Navadvipa Chandra Sachi Sutta, Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Avaduta, Jai Jai Navadvip Sarva Dham Sar, Jatai Hoilo Chaitanya Avatar. All glories to the essence of all holy abodes, Sri Navadvip Dham, where Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has descended. O brother, the result that one obtains by residing at any of the other holy places for many days, it will be received by residing for only one day in Sri Navadvip. Listen, O saintly persons, as I sing the description found in the scriptures of the parikrama of this Navadvip Dham. The message of the holy scriptures, the words of the Vaishnavas, and the order of Srimad Mahaprabhu, these three are the treasures of my life. What are they? The message of the Holy Scriptures, the words of the Vaishnavas, and the order of Srimad Mahaprabhu. These three are the treasures of my life. Taking shelter of these three, I will describe the procedure of Sri Navadvip Parikrama. All of you, please listen. When Jiva Goswami gave up his home, he called out, Nadia, Nadia, with an anxious heart. And for the entire journey from his place of residence at Chandadweep to Sri Navadvip Dham, streams of tears flowed from his eyes. While crying, he called out with a loud voice, O life of the living entities, O Sri Gauranga, O Nityananda Prabhu, when will you bestow your mercy upon me and give me your darshan? Alas, alas, O Sri Navadvip Dham, the essence of all holy abodes, when will I receive your darshan? And repeatedly crying out like this, he continued on his way. Sri Jiva Goswami's unprecedented beauty was due to his youthfulness, his handsome, well-built body, and his extreme renunciation. And after many days of walking, Sri Jiva Goswami reached Sri Navadvip Dham. His heart was always overwhelmed with feelings of praying. Seeing Sri Navadvip Dham from a distance, he offered his obeisances and he became unconscious. After some time, he calmed down. With the hairs of his body standing on end, he entered Sri Navadvip Dham. Upon arriving at Barakona Ghat, he inquired from everyone, Where is Sri Nityananda Prabhu? Please show me. And seeing Sri Jiva Goswami immersed in deep ecstasy, a virtuous man took him to where Sri Nityananda Prabhu was staying. Sri Nityananda Prabhu knew in his heart that Sri Jiva was coming to see him right then. Extremely blissful, he laughed loudly. Who laughed? Say Nityananda very loudly. Sri Nityananda Prabhu then ordered his servants to search for Sri Jiva and bring him near to him. Many Vaishnavas went here and there, searching and calling out for Sri Jiva. And when they saw Sri Jiva Goswami's body decorated with divine ecstatic symptoms, they could understand that this was without a doubt Jiva Goswami. Someone came forward and with great prema told Jiva about Sri Nityananda Prabhu's order. And upon hearing the name of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Jiva became unconscious and fell to the ground. And after some time, Sri Jiva got up and he said, I am most fortunate. Even such a wretched person as me has received the mercy of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. With a joyful heart, Sri Jiva Goswami offered his prostrated obeisances to all those Vaishnavas and prayed, if all of you bestow your mercy upon a person like me, then I can also attain the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. All the Shastras proclaim this. Now, seeing the great fortune of Sri Jiva Goswami, some of the Vaishnavas took the dust of his feet and they observed a festival. In other words, with delighted hearts, they smeared that dust over their bodies. They all took Jiva Goswami to Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who was in semi-internal consciousness and was from time to time singing the pastimes of Sri Krishna in the midst of many Vaishnavas. Prabhu Nityananda Dekhiya Divya Rupa, Jiver Sharire Hoy Bhav Aparupa. Upon seeing the transcendental form of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, extraordinary transcendental emotions arose in the body of Jiva Goswami. Ah, what an unprecedented beauty I behold today! Exclaiming like this, Sri Jiva fell to the ground unconscious. Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who is supremely compassionate, lifted Jiva up and accepted him as his own associate. Sri Jiva Goswami, overcome with emotion, stood up with folded hands and he began to speak to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Now here's the glorification of Nityananda Prabhu by Jiva Goswami. O Lord, you are the form of the universe, the abode of the universe, and directly Sri Balaram. What do I know of your noble virtues? You are my eternal master, and I am your eternal servant. My only longing is to attain shelter at your lotus feet. One who receives your mercy can easily attain Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and become immersed in nectar-like prema. And even if someone worships Sri Gauranga in his heart for hundreds of births without your mercy, he will not be able to attain Sriman Mahaprabhu. What did he just say?
One meditates on Srimad Mahaprabhu for 100.
No. If one worships Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu in his heart for 100 births, but he has not attained the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, he will not be able to attain Sriman Mahaprabhu. If Sri Gaur Hari wishes to punish someone, you can protect him. But if you punish someone, Sriman Mahaprabhu will never protect that person. Therefore, O Lord, on the strength of my pious credits, I have received shelter at your lotus feet. Please give me your mercy and approval that I may obtain Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu's darshan and develop attachment to him. In my childhood, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he visited the village of Ramkeli and gave my two uncles shelter at his lotus feet. And since that time when my tear-filled eyes first beheld the form of Sri Gaura, This same form has appeared constantly within my heart. I fell at Sri Gauranga's lotus feet and offered my obeisances. Touching his divine body, I became filled with great happiness. And at that time, Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu told me, O Jiva, now study the Holy Scriptures, and when you have finished, go to Sri Navadvip, where you will receive everything at the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. And being destitute, I took his order to my heart, and I learned as much as I could. In Chandradvip, I studied literature and other subjects, but I could not find any Vedanta Acharya to my liking. Sriman Mahaprabhu instructed me to study the Vedanta and to reveal Krishna Bhakti in accordance with it. Now I have come to Navadvip and surrendered unto your lotus feet. I will carry out whatever order you give me. If you give me permission, I will go to Sri Kshetra Mandala, Puri. There I may take darshan of the Lord's lotus feet and study Vedanta at the residence of Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya. So after hearing the sweet words of Jiva, Sri Nityananda Prabhu took him on his lap, and unable to check himself, he began to weep. Sri Nityananda Prabhu said, O Jiva, hear my confidential words. Rupa and Sanatan, they know all the established philosophical truths, tattvas. Sriman Mahaprabhu has ordered me to tell you to neither go to Kshetra Mandala Puri nor to stay here. Everyone knows that you and the two brothers, Rupa and Sanatan, are Mahaprabhu's one-pointed servants. My order to you is this: go to Varanasi and study Vedanta under Sri Madhusudan Vachaspati, and from there go straight to Vrindavan, where you will receive the mercy of Sri Rupa and Sri Sanatan. Under the guidance of Sri Rupa, worship the divine couple, Sri Radha Krishna, and deliberate upon the Vedanta and other Shastras. You should preach that the spotless Mahapurana, Srimad Bhagavatam, is the essence of all holy scriptures and the genuine commentary on Vedanta Sutra. You know already that while bestowing his mercy upon Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, Sri Gaur Hari explained Sri Brahma Sutra according to Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the order. Just two more things he said. Sarvabhaum carefully taught this knowledge to Sri Madhusudan Vachaspati and Sri Jagannath Puri. And on the order of the Lord, this same Madhusudan Vachaspati now lives in Varanasi. You should go there and meet him. So tomorrow we'll hear about the identity of Madhusudan Vachaspati and how Jiva Goswami took lessons under him, following the order of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Gaur Premanandi.
Doesn't Lord Nityananda first take him on parikrama, or did he already go on parikrama?
No, he's going to go. Then he's just meeting him.
Yeah, just that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But he's already given him.
Yes, he doesn't want him to go to Puri. He wants him to go directly to